Greetings once again, and thank you again for joining us today in today's Acceleration Summit panel discussion on growing quality human qualities. It's really a pleasure today. I'm Peggy Pelonis, the president of ACS Athens, an American International School in Athens, Greece, and the chair of Idea Gen Athens. And it's really a pleasure today to welcome my guest of honor, and redesigning and reinventing life really in light of adversity is certainly describes this guest speaker this afternoon. It's indeed my pleasure to welcome Sebastien Bellin. And just a couple of things about Sebastien I would like to say, because I think that will put some context into the story that we're both about to tell. After graduating from an international school in Brussels in 1996, Sebastien received a scholarship to play in the NCAA Division I basketball, where he won a Horizon League championship at Oakland University. He went on to play 15 years professionally in Italy and Belgium, as well as being the captain of the Belgian national team for 5 international campaigns. After retiring from basketball, he was part of a founding team that launched Key Motion, the world's first automated video production system. It was sold in less than 3 years and eventually became part of Sport Radar Group. As a survivor of the 2016 terrorist attack at the Brussels airport, he credits his recovery to maintaining the mindset and practices of an athlete. The attacks left him permanently disabled, but at the same time with a unique perspective on life, discovering what it really means to survive. He's an active entrepreneur with current startup ventures in the fields of IT, health, and education. He's the father of 2 girls and a husband, currently residing between Brussels, Belgium, and the United States, Michigan. Welcome with us today, Sebastien.
Thank you, Peggy. It's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to see you again.
Always good to see you. So let me start with a question, though I think we can take this in any direction we like. So why are we here together? I think we have a common vision. I know that you believe that education is the key to transforming the world. I know that you inspire young people. You certainly did as our commencement speaker this year. I've heard so many wonderful comments from both our parents, guests, and students. And so I want to start by asking you, you have a really compelling life story, one that truly speaks to strong will, resilience, discipline. Would you share your story with us?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. I think one of the reasons why maybe I connect very well with the younger generation, or especially international schools and the ACS community. Thank you again, Peggy, for that opportunity to speak at the ACS graduation a few months ago. Actually, a month ago. I really have not had I would say an extraordinary talent or skill set. Very, very simply, I lived a life of very I would say pretty quality experiences, and these experiences allowed me to succeed at things that maybe are a little bit out of the ordinary, without much talent, without much I would say, like I said before, a skill set. My foundation was really one based on quality, and it's one that I try to, I would say, inspire, just to pass on to the younger generation. I was born in Brazil from Belgian parents. I lived on 3 continents of the world before the age of 10. I learned 4 languages before the age of 12. I moved from, Sao Paulo, Brazil to Indianapolis, but I'm talking about Indiana in 1983. So this was a very different, almost 2 extremes from Sao Paulo to Indiana. and then Philadelphia, and then Scandinavia, and then Italy, and then Belgium, and then New York. So I moved around a lot, and this gave me such a unique perspective. Whether it's different cultures, different ways of doing things, it's almost like I was able to take the positives from every and kind of make my own my own approach to life. And this unique approach, was one that I look back on, was not really based on any quantity, extraordinary quantity or skill set. It was based on really a foundation of quality. And this allowed me to, get a scholarship to play basketball in the United States, from then professional, played 15 years professional, like you said. And looking back, that's kind of attainable. It's not rocket science. Whether it's surviving a terrorist attack, whether it's starting your own company, whether it's professional basketball. These are all things that may seem extraordinary, but actually are pretty simple to attain if you have that foundation of quality. And that's really what I think we found in common, is this passion for passing on this idea of building a foundation of quality in people.
And that I think was the main part of the message, the message that really resonated with young people and adults alike in the commencement ceremony, that you talked a lot about quality and really appealed to the young people to choose quality over quantity. And I know you have a theory about that, and I really would like for you to share it with our audience.
Yeah, it's simple. It's a simple, again. None of what I speak about is rocket science. I'm really my point of view is often very simple. It goes hand in hand with, I think we live in a world that's become very complicated, which is overcomplicated. And I think one of the things of being a survivor, one of the things of having lived a life full of experiences, allows me to keep things very simple. And for me, the simplicity of what I talk about is key. And I'm not sure that many people know these days, or feel comfortable, being simple, keeping things very simple. And one of the reasons is this, I think, that the world has, that we've created a world that is very much obsessed with quantity. Mm. And as you mentioned, Peggy, I think that quantity is a want, and the quality is a need. And knowing the difference between both those things, a want and a need, quantity and quality, that's truly a game changer, especially in young adults. Because I'm not saying that wants aren't important, but anything that is, they are important. Businesses need to make money. Things that are quantitative are important, but they should never be your focus. They aren't true needs. And if a young person, especially a young student in the formative years, understand the difference, I think it's a game changer going through life. Why? Because something that is measurable, something that is, grades, stats, money, everything that is measurable in life, I think creates a ego-driven life. Because something that's measurable, well, if we teach these kids that, listen, you're only good if you get an A, or only a good player if you have good stats. Well, all these things will feed at your ego. Either it's a success, okay, you attained this quantitative measure, or you failed. You didn't reach that. And this kind of both extremes of failure or pass, well, that I think does not build a good foundation, in my opinion, in people. And the ego, putting yourself before others, putting yourself at the fore, the ego is the number one blocking point for growth. The more you put ego ahead, the more you will diminish growth in you because your wants aren't truly necessary. If you close your eyes, if you close your eyes and you just think of something that you want, think of something, think of a I don't know, something. Okay, I really want this, and in that moment, is it something that you can measure? Is it something that you truly know how? Is it quantitative? And if it's quantitative, well, I can guarantee you that it's not truly a need, especially after a certain level. You don't really need it. You don't fundamentally need it. Something that is truly a need is not measurable. It's not measurable. Qualitative things that are quality, it's not measurable. Love, tolerance, empathy, work ethic, all these things in life that I believe are essential in a foundation are not measurable. And more importantly, these foundational things of quality, well, they're the opposite of ego driven. They're very high energetic vibration. And that's more into the second part of, of why quantity and quality, knowing the difference, educating young students to really focus on quality and to have the confidence of putting quality first. Well, I think that's why it's a game changer, because there's many dominoes that then play on towards once you've created that foundation.
So, if quality, you gave some good examples. You talked about love, you talked about empathy, and so on and so forth. If we focus on quality, these kinds of things, because I do agree with you. There's a lot of research nowadays on this idea of happiness and what makes people happy. And I know that even, there are courses that are taught on happiness. One particular popular one is at Yale University. Laurie Santos teaches that class. Another one at Drexel University, Eric Zilmer. And so they talk about happiness. And so obviously, scanning the research on this was very important. And one of the things that has come out of it is that the more we accumulate things, our brains are wired in such a way where we get tired of things, we get bored of things. So you get a brand new car or a beautiful house. After a while, you kind of get bored of that and you want something else. So you're focusing on things such as relationships, building relationships, creating moments, memories, contributing to our environment, to a social condition, to someone else's life, and so on. So are more things that last, which sounds like a lot of the things that you're talking about. And certainly, I think if we focus on these qualities, on quality rather, it's easier to move towards attaining the sustainable development goals. But it also means changing mindsets, because society does put a lot of emphasis on quantity and things that are measurable. And so the devil advocate in me will say, okay, but what if you want to go out into the world and have a business? How, you want to survive, you want to make money. How will you do this if you're only focusing on quality? How did you do this with, a number of startups and so on and so forth? When you're
well, that's a great question. And a lot of times, when I speak to young people, I'm very careful of, listen, quality is important. Okay. Quality is important, but the way society has taught a lot of young people is to build their foundation on quantity, thinking that come as a result of, the quality will come as a result of a foundation of quantity. So a lot of young people are urged to really focus on quantity and have it as a foundation. And I think that handicaps them, that's a disability, because it's like a house. If you build a house with a really solid foundation, you can build a first story, second story, third story. You can build upwards. You can grow. If you build a house with a really crappy, a foundation, it's very hard to build anything on top of that. And I think we educate our kids these days with this fear,
Mm.
and fear and quality. So quantity, quality, fear and danger go hand in hand. So I'm answering your question why? Because I think we scare the living daylights out of kids. I think kids these days, they're more and more, they're bombarded with negativity, news, and this, and the planet's falling apart, and this and that. Now, there may be elements of truth in all those, but it's grossly exaggerated. Positivity is hidden in many ways because of the extravagance and the extreme of negativity that's bombarding at kids. And so, what is these kids grow up with, a lot of them, anxiousness, anxiety, all these things that are very low energetically, very low energetically. And so these kids have, I'm making a huge generalization, but a majority of kids, I feel more and more, lack confidence in themselves. And what's the way to boost the ego? The way to boost the ego is to say, hey, let's measure yourself. You're not that bad. Grades. You get good stats. You have good stats. You're a good athlete. You know. Now, these are all quantitative measures that we urge our kids to really focus on. Hey, don't worry about, being a good person. Just you get good grades. If you get good grades, you're going to go to good university. If you make a lot of money, you're going to be happy. Don't worry about all the other things. So we instill this mindset, ego-driven, low energetic levels. Well, we instill that in kids at a very young age, because it's much easier to feel good about yourself. That's the safe and comfort zone. Well, when you can measure progress, anything that is quality, that's the key. Anything that is quality, anything that is long term, sometimes it's impossible to measure. Quality cannot be measured. More and more people are trying to measure or to, let's say, chart quality. But most people's mindset at a very early age, especially, it's like, listen, I need reference points. I need reference points to feel good about myself. And so these reference points, if they match, let's say I get enough likes on social media. Wow, I got a lot of likes on this thing I posted. Ooh, I feel good. I actually get great grades. I got great grades. It doesn't matter that I'm not part of a community. I'm not part. No, I get good grades. I'm doing my thing. I'm okay. Oh, I scored a lot of points. Yeah, my team lost, but I scored a lot of points. I'm okay. And we encourage that more and more. And
You know,
startups, the beautiful thing about startups is that it's the starting point. So what's the key in a startup? Let's keep it very simple. My passion is building foundations. So startup is the foundational period of a company, of a project. And you take a look at all these entrepreneurs. So now I'm finally getting to your question, Peggy. Look at all these entrepreneurs. Look at all these game changers. Go ahead and study them. Go ahead and speak to them. Speak to people who have truly become game changers in our society. Are these the smartest guys? Did they get really good grades? Most of them are college dropouts. Now, I'm not saying that colleges is important. What I'm saying is fundamental characteristics about them. One, they got a work ethic. I don't know any entrepreneur that doesn't have a work ethic. They have passion. They believe in what they do. They've been at this passion for many, many, many years, and they never gave up. Startups will go down. It's not easy. You probably will fail 1 or 2 times. So these people have fundamental characteristics that I believe are quality driven. And if you ask any CEO, for example, I was talking to, the CIO of the Port of Antwerp. I was in a conversation with him. His name is Erwin Verstralen. Okay, he's the CIO of Antwerp. The Port of Antwerp is the biggest port in the world, one of the biggest ports in the world. Now, this is the guy who's in charge of all the innovation, everything for technology for the Port of Antwerp. And you talk to these people, you talk to these leaders. What does the guy look for? The guy looks for, he says, listen, when I get a CV, I go to the last line. How do they spend their pastime? That was his thing. That really marked me when I said, listen, I don't look, if I'm getting a CV for certain positions, yeah, I know they went to school. Yeah, I know they're smart guys, or smart people. I know that. I want to know what's their passion. What do they do in their free time? What do they do and what drives them? I want to know what they're passionate about. I want to know what makes them smile in the morning. And I think that's the message I think a lot of young people misunderstand, is that more and more these days, skill sets, pure skill sets, are easier and easier to teach. What's not easy to teach is the fundamental foundation, whether you have it or not, of quality. And schools like ACS, for example, that teach experience, that teach the quality, open mind, tolerance, empathy, work ethic. I walked onto the ACS campus and I see 3 outdoor tennis courts. Okay. Well, of course I'm biased, but I believe that sports can teach us so many things in terms of quality driven foundation. Sports, music, all those things. Well, you have these schools that you walk into and you just feel that school quality driven. Now, of course, their IB diploma, grades are important. I get it, and it's important. But let's switch the mindset that if you really want success, if you really want a happy, balanced life, let's tell these kids the message that, look, in the world of business, in the world of even in the world of entrepreneurship, what are our top decision makers looking for? They'll be able to teach your software. Accountants, for accountants, there's so much more and more technology to teach you skill sets. Right. What there's not is the foundational creativity, imagination, hard work, positivity, all those things. Yeah, there's not a lot of technology to teach that. And if you have that, you're going to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Problem solving, synthesizing information, all of those things. And I wanted to make a comment, a couple of things that you said. You mentioned fear, and I think you're absolutely right that we tend to really amplify fear, and certainly it amplified during this time of the pandemic and the lockdown, and particularly for young children, when they're looking really for a place to feel a place of belonging, so that they can grow from there and develop and take risks and go out into the world. And so they were looking to us adults, for the answers, and we didn't seem to have a lot of answers in here. So fear certainly is something that has been amplified, but you also mentioned developing self-confidence. And I want to add to that courage, because it takes courage to move out of the comfort zone, out of the fear, and to take risks. And so developing that kind of mindset and foundation is really what, I strive for in the school and all of the people that work here. But by the time the students get to a place where they're, taking the IB, or they're going to college, and they're, looking for those kinds of measurable successes, it kind of comes naturally because the foundation is already there, and there's a sense of satisfaction that kind of underlies everything. And so I wanted you to comment on that. What do you think about that?
Well, don't you think, Peggy, in your vast experience, don't you think that when schools teach and focus on experiences, fear diminishes?
Absolutely.
I believe that fear is an illusion. Okay, there's a big difference between fear and danger. Fear, for example, danger is a car coming at you full speed. That's dangerous. Okay, that's dangerous. You got to move out of the way. You're going to get hit, or you're going to get hit by a car. But fear is waking up in the morning thinking, "Oh my gosh, today I'm going to get hit by a car. I know it." And these illusions, well, if how do we take this fear out of students? These illusions. Well, because fear drains you of energy needed to accomplish, to have confidence. I've rarely met, people with confidence who are also fearful. Fear and anxiety, they have more arrogance than confidence. Confidence is knowing that you have the necessary skill set or quality foundation to overcome challenges. Arrogance is saying, hey, I'm not too sure, but I'm going to fake it. I'm going to fake it and try to make my way through it. And there's a thin line between arrogance and confidence. And when you have fear, when you have this fear installed in young people, but also in adults, well, that fear drains you of all the necessary energy. And life is about energy. You just meet people who are more energetic, who have more energy. This energy it's like a snowball effect. It creates more and more energy, and it's very hard of energy. And so the awareness of, am I just imagining things? Am I being fed nonsense? Or am I in real danger? And experiences. If I'm in a classroom with with somebody from Senegal, if I'm in a classroom with a Chinese, if I'm from different backgrounds, if every day I cultivate people from different backgrounds, ethnicities, well, that creates, it's exactly a melting pot of different experiences. Hey, that's not true. I know people from very different backgrounds. There's different. Now, all of a sudden, you start building in young people this shield towards, I'm sorry to use this word, BS. You start building a shield towards towards an ideas that later on society, for one reason or another, will try to force feed you, and these young adults will be like, no, that's not true. My experiences, I've been this, or you know what, I've played on sports teams with a lot of people. That's not true. Successful teams are not ego driven. Like, I know what it is to work every day at mastering, a musical instruments, and on being in an orchestra, on all these things. Like, you can't BS students that have a foundation of quality with a lot of experiences. You can't do that. The only people you can really BS, and the only people you can really force a very low level of energy, of vibrational energy, is backed by very limited experiences. And I think quality foundation in education is direct to experiences. Look at schools. The schools of the future are the ones to kids that offer experiences. It's easier and easier to teach. Look at all the big, platforms, whatever you have. There's more and more technologies, data, AI, whatever it is, it's easier to teach skill sets. It is almost impossible after a certain age, or it takes a lot of energy to change a foundation that is either quality driven or quantity driven. And quality driven, if we start really putting this quality foundation, building quality foundation in our younger generations, we're going to see a dramatic in the way that our life, our planet, can sustain itself and can move forward.
And I completely agree with that, and I think that the education is changing, and partly because it's so easy, as you said, it's becoming rather easier to teach skill sets, and yeah, young people all over the world can now choose the kind of skill set that they want to attain. But you have really, talk about fear and talk about a life-changing situation in your life as a result of this attack and everything that you went through. Do you and how do you see the world differently, and how has your experience of the world changed? Could you tell us a little bit about that, and what would you like to say to young people about that?
Yeah, definitely when you are, when you're too, when you beat death, when you beat death, um, I was fighting for an hour and a half, after the second bomb went off, and I was about 7 yards away from the second bomb, and I couldn't move. Both my legs were exploded. I got a bomb fragment in my hip, which completely destroyed my hip. Um, I in the moment, in the moment, what made me stay alive? What allowed me to survivor rather than a victim? What allowed me to survive is all the quality that I had in my life. It's the quality mindset. It's the quality foundation. So I'll give you. I mean, I'm sorry to be so graphic, but seconds after I came to, there was a dead woman right next to me, and in that moment, I was almost I was kind of like at a crossroad in the moment. In that moment, I could have chosen to panic. I could have chosen to be angry, fair, why I deserve this. I could have chosen to go down an avenue of a victim. And there's a big difference between a survivor and a victim. A survivor is somebody who overcomes a challenge, and life teaches us the most amazing lessons. A victim is someone who, after the challenge experience, becomes less. So, in that very moment, life gave me probably the biggest challenge of my life. I accepted it. I said, listen, if I get through this, holy cow, I will have learned. I'm going to have a skill set that's even of greater quality to face life, to pass on. And so that dead woman, and I thank her almost every day. That dead woman, well, she was a victim.
Yeah.
After that bomb went off, she became a victim. She had no choice. Life didn't give her a choice to be a survivor or to be a victim. And so she was a victim. I had the choice. Was I dead? No, I wasn't dead. I had survived 2 bomb blasts. And so that mindset of, wow, I'm in deep trouble. I'm bleeding from both legs. I don't feel anything. I can't move. I can't hear anything. I'm in severe trouble. I am dying, but I'm not dead. And so, in that moment of mindset, well, that's where all the quality comes for. It doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter what my title was. It didn't matter any of that. When you are faced with the biggest challenge in your life, you better have a work ethic. You better have passion for life. You better have all these elements that allow not to give up, to keep going. Well, that's all quality driven. It's got nothing to do with quantity. Nothing. And so in the moment when I chose to be a survivor, in the moment when I chose to really say, okay, this is the biggest challenge of my life, I'm going to get through it. And what fueled me? What fueled me is the quality that I've cultivated my entire life. So I was able to stay calm. I was able to have a focus on what needed to be done. I wasn't panicking. I didn't have fear in me. I was in danger, but I wasn't fearful. I had survived. I was alive, unlike this dead woman next to me. And I think that's what became even more powerful in me. If you want to achieve the unimaginable, so if you want to survive, if you want to overcome sometimes challenges that seem unsurmountable, to have to have a foundation built on quality. Anything in life that truly, truly matters stems from the foundation of quality, not quantity. And quality is long term. It's sustainable. Quantity, ego, all those things, yeah, they might work in the short term, but they don't last. And in the hardest moments of life, that's where I was able to fall back on such a rich and fulfilling foundation of quality. So I was able to very clearly put into play a game plan where I stayed positive, I stayed focused, I stayed calm, and I was able to muster the energy, which is fundamental, to put in place and to also attract help. You know, if you want people to help, if you want to create a team in the moment, well, it's much easier to get a team working. So I had a lot of people who helped me in those moments. Well, if you're able to connect with them in a calm and collected manner, well, you enhance the chance to to get the team to do the right thing. Decision making in the moment. You know, it's I don't mean to put myself ahead of anything, but there's a big decision making, leadership. It's very decisions when there's no consequences. The decisions I had to make in the moment, if they were the wrong ones, I'm dead. If the right ones, I live. And what do you base decisions on? Are you going to base decisions? Ask a coach. Ask top level coaches. Listen, the championship is on the line. Are you going to go with the guy with the best stats, or are you going to go with the guy that has the experience, that's been there, that has the experience of being in huge pressure championship situations? What's the coach going to go for? Is the coach going to go for the stats, or is he going to go for the experience? You're going to go for the quality in a player. Well, that's exactly what I found myself in. I found myself in a situation where I had to make decisions that were life or death. And this life, I was able to really make the right ones. He had 3 blood transfusions, got to the hospital. The doctors had no idea why I was able to, how I was able to survive, being 6'9", 2 meters 5, with such dramatic blood loss, why I never passed out. Well, I a certain quality foundation in me that just allowed me to stay calm, not waste energy, and beat that moment. Well, it all stems from a foundation of quality and not quantity.
And how did that experience, if that's the case, how did that change your life? Did it change it, or was it the mindset of focusing on quality and obviously being able to tap into that as a resource during the most difficult time of your life? Was that just a continuation of how you had lived life up until that time, or did something change after that experience?
I think it's a great question, Peggy, and it's a lot of people ask me that. Yeah, but you were like that before. And again, it's something we talked about when I was in Athens. and you can see that in certain in certain students, I'm sure. And I'm interested in asking, if you see, it's, you can believe in something and you can have awareness, but there's a big difference between being aware of something and truly accepting it. Acceptance no longer wastes energy.
Mm.
And so I was aware of a foundation of quality can bring to you the positives. But now it's almost like someone just engraved it into me. Like life just engraved this into me. Um, where before I had to, you know, for one of my startups. Well, let's say before I had to make 10 phone calls, to get, now it's just as if like the right person falls on my lap, and you make one phone call. And with one phone call, things take off. Like everything becomes so much more efficient, so much more simple. And it's very hard to reach that moment. It's very hard to reach that stage in life because yeah, you're going to have to go through the challenges. You're going to have to exit, like you said, the comfort zone. You're going to have to do difficult things where life will teach you and give you that awareness. And then after a while, with experience, it just becomes, I know negativity. I'm not a hermit in the middle of wants, but I am so engraved. It's so engraved in me, this power of quality. And once it becomes engraved, and certainly beating death, I think is the ultimate, I would say the ultimate life lesson of how much quality in your foundation, you can achieve anything. There's nothing that you can't achieve. It's your choice. And I think that's really the game changer is now I know negativity exists. I know that there's horrible situations in life, but that's a victim mindset.
And also, I think that as we talk about education, because it's really about, other than the family, the school is the place where mindsets are cultivated. And we talk a lot about growth mindset these days, but I really like what you have to say about minimizing that sense of fear and really cultivating in kids the courage and the self-confidence to move out of the comfort zone and to experience so that they have more quality, that we develop more quality in our lives. But we know that education is changing as the world changes. And
Do you see that, Peggy? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you see that? Do you see kids putting more and more emphasis in, you've been in education for so long. Are you seeing that out, understanding, needing more of an?
yeah, I definitely, I know that when the platform is provided in the school setting and outside the school setting for kids to engage in experiences, I know that they will take advantage of it. They take more and more so. And even when young people are hesitant to do something, for example, we had kids go to an old people's home and, where most of the people there had dementia, but to spend time with them, to play music, to play board games, to do all these things. And we're talking about adolescents now who are in middle school, at a time where they want to do other things. But once they've got there, the experiences that they came back with, even tears that they held on to, and many of them said, "Oh, it reminded me of my grandmother, my grandfather. I really want to do more of this," and so on and so forth. So what I see is young people taking advantage of these opportunities and wanting to engage in them once that platform is provided, which is why I believe that we as educators need to provide these opportunities, create the space and create the opportunity, but then get the students to a place where they themselves then create the opportunity, where they themselves reach out in the community and they say, okay, I want to contribute here, I want to do, but not from a position of one up, but from a position of We're all in this together, and unless all we are all healthy and well, and I'm talking about not, functional, not dysfunctional, then this society is never going to be, well, it's never going to be perfect anyway, but we aren't going to have a healthy society unless we're all have opportunity to be healthy. And so I think it's that kind of mindset that I would like to see in young kids, and where I think education should also include. And so when you talk about these things, Sebastien, whether it's at commencement or in other situations, I think it's natural for me to see how people gravitate towards you. I mean, I remember the night of the commencement, the doctor who played an important part in saving your legs. And we had a brief conversation that night, and I said, you're really amazing for what you did for Sebastien. And he said to me, he's the amazing one. It's he who had the mindset to get through this. So I think that kind of mindset and energy will attract like-minded people and energy. So
That's the hardest thing, right, Peggy? Once you have it, once you have that mindset, it's like what I talked about, the snowball effect. It is impossible to stop the snowball of positivity that keeps building and building and building, and momentum. You look at it in sports teams, you look at it in businesses, whatever it is, your momentum is what you try to create, positive momentum for the benefit of everyone, not just one person. And that's why the ego needs to be taken out as quickly as possible from the equation, because the ego is very low energetic, Unconditional love. It's been talked about. It's unconditional love is the highest vibration you can have. So creating a team with very high energy, well, it's all quality driven. What's the highest energy forms of personal energy forms in life? It's tolerance, gratefulness, thankfulness, love, empathy. All those things are so high in energy, and they also attract even more of that. And it's so simple in thinking. And it goes back to where we started about we've gone away from this simplicity of teaching kids. Listen, get really good. Your skill set that you should have is how to attract and develop a quality driven foundation. And if kids can do that, which is not easy in this world, which is so dominant of quantity, if kids can do that, it is a game changer. And Peggy, last thing I will say, this is not a pipe dream. This is a necessity, because to put quantity examples, this system that we live in, which you spoke about, it's broken. The system of quantity that we've built our world on, it's not efficient. It's not a good one. I mean, you want to talk pure quantity, pure business. You have the European Central Bank. Well, they're giving out negative interest loans to other major banks. And the last thing I will say, it's really important that we tell these kids that the system, this process of quantity, it's broken.
yeah,
When you have the Central European Bank, lending out, negative interest rates, it means that there's almost like, personal savings, all this quantity in the world. Banks don't want that anymore. They don't want your savings. They don't want your from the European Central Bank. So the idea that quantity has less and less value, that's what I'm getting at. The system that we've built, there's too much quantity out there. Quantity has been mastered. Okay, great. It's been mastered. What there's definitely not enough of, and that's why the world is out of balance, is we've gone to a lot of quantity and not enough quality. And I believe that the future, the game changers in this world, are the ones that can rebalance this world. And how do you rebalance this world? You got to put a lot of quality into it. And that's the secret. You have that quality foundation, everything else will come naturally without a lot of effort, very, very organically. And more, people see that. It's not just me saying it. There's real examples. You know, it's CEOs, it's coaches. Hey, give me players that work hard. I don't care that they're that. Give me players that work hard. CEOs, hey, give me team players, people who know how to be with, who know how to function on a team, who are good people, who have a good work ethic, who have passion. Give me those people. And so we have to tell these young people the truth that the system of quantity is broken. It's not going. When you can now borrow money quantity at a negative interest rate, it's the first sign that, listen, something's wrong, something's not right here. So we need to shift our focus to a much more quality driven world, and it starts with instilling the confidence in these young people that, hey, have the courage to build a quality foundation within yourself, and you will see that everything will you'll be able to build anything on it. It's not a pipe dream, it's the reality. That's what's needed.
What I hear you saying, Sebastien, is that becomes more than just doing and experiencing, but it sounds to me like you're saying it eventually becomes a way of being in the world. And if you do this, if you become aware of this and incorporate this in your life, and it's just a way of being, then everything else falls into place and comes naturally. And more and more things like that are attracted. A really powerful message. And so I think I agree with you that that's where what we need to incorporate in education and in helping young people become aware of this at younger and younger ages, a way of being in the world that involves a lot more quality. So any final words of wisdom for the youth?
Um, I could talk to you, Peg, my passion for education for a long, long time, but I think everything was said for now. And again, I just wanted to thank you again for this opportunity to share, my story and my gratefulness in you to help me, kind of uh, uh, add, one of the biggest things that to me as a survivor, what's been my therapy, is that I believe life gave me an opportunity to survive, to be a survivor, and I recycle something horrible, some traumatic that happened to me. Well, if it can serve the younger generation, especially the little pearls of wisdom that I learned through overcoming these challenges, if it can help, that's really the therapy that I've been in these past 5 years, is to try to pass it on. Just in a very simple way, in a very humble way, these things have helped. They've helped me survive. They've helped me overcome some of the hardest challenges of life, and I'm better off. Sure, I'm disabled. I don't feel anything in my left leg anymore. I have metal all through me, but I'm better off, than I was before. And so this approach to life of recycling, of being able to share the message, it's I should be thanking you. I should be thanking all these people that allow me to share and recycle this message. It truly is a blessing to have this type of therapy and be associated with wonderful initiatives like this one. So thank you again very much, Peggy, for this opportunity.
And I'm very grateful to know you, and I look forward to more such conversations and more work together. Thank you for joining us today. Sebastien, Bellin, and for your words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.